Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Blue Please right here on CynicalBrits.com. Yes, you are. What? Well. So it comes to this particular topic. I would like to stress before I go on, before you guys freak out, just because I'm discussing this topic does not mean I'm going to stop doing Blue Please, as I would daily or any other WoW content. At the end of the day, this is kind of a job. Blue Please doesn't really bring in a lot of money, actually. It's more of a loss lead than anything else. I mean, it costs us more to run the servers than I think we bring in terms of advertising, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's covered by the budget from the YouTube channel. I like to do it because people enjoy it, and it's a fun show. You know, I started off doing this. This is what got me into everything. And as a result, it seems to make sense that we should continue to do something like that. Why not? Why would we not want to do that? Incidentally, by the way, if any of you are interested in the IGN Pro League, there are some more awesome things, yeah? There's some awesome video content coming out on IGN.com/IPL. And some of you keep asking, well, you know, which matches are you casting, Total Biscuit? Well, in this series, I'm casting the Idra match. Yes, I'm casting the Kiwikaki match. And I'm casting the minigun match. Oh, yeah. Groovin'. So yeah, you can check those out. And there's a bunch of interviews coming up right now on that particular website. Okay. Why do I not care? Why do I have no desire to play World of Warcraft at the moment? Difficult question, isn't it? I mean, up to this point, I've sort of been saying to myself that, oh, I'm too busy to play it, but in reality, I could probably find time if I wanted to. Especially since I managed to optimize my workflow and hire people on, things like that. So I am just trying to figure out what exactly would get me enthusiastic about the game anymore, because, I mean, even with the better questing, I don't care enough to do a lot of that. Hell, actually, most of my leveling has been done with archaeology, for God's sake. Why? I just was, you know... I just found it easier. It's quicker. Got a lot of cool archaeology stuff. A lot of levels in it. But yeah. Why don't I care about the game right now? I don't know. I think that it's difficult to separate what you want the game to be with what the game actually is, and to take the game on its own merits, as opposed to the fact that you think it's so incredibly disappointing in comparison to what it could be. And for instance, I feel very badly burned by the beta, because to me, the beta was a set of promises that were not kept. For instance, the quality of the heroic dungeons was just banged into the ground. We've got yet another PTR patch that nerfs across the board once again. More and more and more. It's gone right back to the way Wrath was, and that is so disappointing to me. I hoped and I thought Blizzard would actually grow a spine this time around, and you know what, they didn't. And that saddens me. It really does, because the next stage will be nerfing dungeons, and they'll be nerfing raids, more to the point. Some nerfs have already gone through, admittedly not a huge number, which I'm okay with. You know, I'm okay with things that a lot of people perceive bug fixes and unintentional things within the game fixed as straight-out nerfs, and in reality, they are implied nerfs as opposed to express nerfs. Their overall effect is that it will nerf the encounter, but in reality the encounter wasn't supposed to work that way anyway, so I'm alright with that. I'm okay with that. You know, that's fine. Because the thing is, bug fixes go both ways as well, because there's often exploits which make the encounter easier that can then be fixed, so to me that's alright, and bugs should be fixed. Even if the bugs make the game harder, yeah, they should be fixed, absolutely. Why not? I mean, that's just dumb, isn't it? If the game doesn't work properly and that's why it's difficult, then you can't suddenly praise the game for being challenging. That's just stupid, is it not, ladies and gentlemen? Yes. The problem is that the next stage will be nerfing raids, because the people that have not been able to get through the 5-man content will also not be able to get through the raid content. Yeah? Blizzard nerfed 5-mans in response to the fact that people weren't able to do them. Now they will nerf raids because they're not able to do them. And of course the proxy nerfing of raids comes in from the fact that when the next tier comes out, you'll be able to get the gear from the current tier by simply running 5-mans, so you can avoid the tier entirely if you so desire. This is the depressing thing about it. And then of course you have the heroics, which Blizzard just touts as, Blizzard uses heroics as an excuse to have everything else be too easy. It's like, oh, if you want hard content, you can go into heroics. Bollocks, you can. You've got to go through, I feel like I'm repeating myself. It's still right, though. That's the problem. I can't say different things every show, because Blizzard keeps making the same friggin' mistakes, and it's so frustrating. I want them to be better, and I know they can be. They constantly show that they're able to design really engaging content, but I don't know what it is with them. This whole accessibility binge they've been on for the last 2 years is just garbage. They don't understand what accessibility is. They provided accessibility when they launched the game. They understood what it was then. The game does not have to be dumbed down in every possible respect so people can see 100% of the content. It's never had to be that way, and it's so dumb that they think that is. For God's sake, if you're going to insist on doing that, please make a third difficulty level called Casual, and make that you can see everything difficulty. And then make Normals hard. At least hard enough to challenge people. And then make Heroics harder still. The problem is the gap, isn't it? It's the jump, it's the leap you have to make. It's not a little hop over a small ravine. It's a leap of faith over a giant chasm that you can, more often than not, go plunging down to your death into the fetid water below. That's what it really is. That's the jump from normals to heroics right now. It's been that way for a very long time. It's been that way since Wrath, in fact. And the way to fix that was with non-binary hard modes. We come back to this subject. It's worthy of discussion. Non-binary hard modes were the way to deal with this problem. For instance, an example. The first week you went into Ulduar, you maybe attempted the Flame Leviathan with no towers up. And you were able to beat it after a few attempts, and it's like, hey, everything is wonderful and bright. And then you maybe tried Razor Gore, and after a lot of work you maybe... Razor Gore, was it... Is it Razor Gore? No. No, my god, Razor Gore is Blackwing Lair. What the hell is with my head? What was the hell... Who the hell was that? Was it Razor... Ulduar? I have forgotten the name of the boss. What? Razor Scale. God damn, I knew it was Razor something. Razor Gore. That was a boss and a half. My god. Now I'm reminiscing. That was a really unique and cool encounter. Anyway. I'm getting senile in my old WoW age, folks. So you go in there and you beat that encounter, and then maybe you kill Razor Scale, and then of course you wipe hard in XD002 for the week, and that'll be it. And then you go back in, and then the next week on the reset, you might try it with one tower up. So you may do that, or you may decide you don't care, you want to progress, so you'll just kill it. The thing is that when you're working on things within WoW, and when you can actually alter the difficulty so that you're always progressing, even when doing encounters you've already done, I think you feel genuinely challenged. It also raises your game a lot higher than you would get otherwise, for instance. Because if you're sleeping through the first 5 or 6 encounters, then you hit 7, which is like a brick wall, then you run into a situation where you are not focused, you're tired, you don't give a damn, you've got no enthusiasm, you've got no drive to succeed, your war face is very visibly not being shown. That's what needs to change. Non-binary hard modes, to me, are the solution to almost every problem that this game has in terms of its PvE raid content. And that's the sad thing about it, isn't it? And the excuses of Blizzard were, well, it was really complicated to work it out. Was it hell? Please, and it's not like you couldn't make it easy. You could just have a guy to talk to. I would like to activate 1 tower, please. I would like to activate 2 towers, please. I would like to engage Freya with 2 Guardians, please. I would like to have 3 Watchers, please. 4 Watchers, please. This is the thing. You can't make that kind of excuse and say, oh, well, we changed it because it was too complicated and wasn't visual enough. Bugger that. I'm sorry, that's nonsense. I understand the need to sort of integrate it into the UI, but considering they're going to be integrating boss tactics and loot tables into the UI, why the hell can't they integrate stuff like non-binary hard modes into the UI? It's like, oh, here's the loot table, here's some basic tactics, would you like to try it with 1, 2, or 3 Guardians? 1, 2, or 3 Drakes, whatever. It all works. I think that people can grow that way. And honestly, because of the lack of that, I it kills my drive to raid. And that's not to say that TBC was bad because it didn't have that. I think back in the day, those were simpler times. We had lower expectations, maybe. And I would like to say that most people who have played through that era are probably better now than they were then. So if you turn back to TBC content and you say, oh, well, you know, it was really hard, or you say, oh, well, actually, it was really easy, we just weren't so good back then, there's actually no real way to tell, because they did a 30% across the board nerf to it, so there really is, and with the power creep and everything, it's impossible to tell what of that is rose-tinted spectacles, and what of that is actually real, genuine difficulty spikes, and a challenging curve. Extremely difficult to figure that one out. Problematic. I think if I were to be enthusiastic about WoW again, I'd certainly need something to do and an aim. Right now, it's like I'm so far behind I can't really get anywhere, but, you know, my guild can easily help me get up to that level. You know, if I wanted to go raid heroics, I could do it. The guild would help, certainly. I get myself sorted out, get my gear, get the gear that I need, and then get on with it. No problem. No problem at all. However, the entire system is just depressing. And I feel that the design philosophy behind the game is actually not aimed at me anymore. I don't think that I'm its primary demographic. I think there are other games that are trying to be my primary demographic. For instance, if I really cared about hotkey MMOs anymore, I'd probably be playing Rift, because as much of a WoW clone as it is a fine game. It's got a lot of things that WoW really should have. Admittedly, it's also taken a bunch of things whole cloth from WoW as well, but why would you not borrow from what was the best MMO of all time, and arguably probably still is? I don't think the Rift surpassed it. I think it's better at certain things. I've mentioned this over the past few years, actually, whenever new MMOs come out. That new MMO's always had something that's been better than WoW, but the rest of it's actually fallen short. Warhammer Online had a similar problem, Aeon had a similar problem, Lord of the Rings Online even. It's probably the closest that it gets, but still has similar problems. There's never been a game that's either completely outclassed WoW or has been so incredibly different to WoW that it can distinguish itself, because the WoW comparisons will always come in. I think the only real games that have managed to do that up to this point have probably been Eve, and now maybe Black Prophecy coming in as well. Games like that. PlanetSide. PlanetSide's nothing like WoW at all. There's nothing in there like it. I wonder if PlanetSide next will be. I can just expect it. Daily quests. Kill 10 new conglomerate. Hand in new conglomerate heads for a shiny new gun. Please don't do that. Terrible idea. My. And I suppose that after this long playing a game like this, and then feeling like Blizzard has turned its back on its original subscriber base, is the problem I've really got with it. It's very hard to find enthusiasm for a game that is repeatedly telling you that you're doing it wrong and you're not thinking the way that we want you as a game to think. This whole accessibility thing, constantly saying, oh, well, you know, you guys are masochists. You know, when Bashiok says that, that's actually genuinely damaging, in my opinion. Even though he was aiming it at somebody who had a really dumb post, it is a strawman argument that people will latch onto, and it actually gives me the impression that that's how the devs actually think about people that are asking for harder content, or asking for things to sort of go back just a little bit to the way that they used to be. If you tell me that I'm a masochist for that, then I will tell you to go do awful things to yourself. Let me put it that way. Indeed. Awful things. I don't appreciate being called a masochist for being an experienced gamer. I feel that pretty much any gamer around my age probably thinks in a similar fashion. As in, if they played games for longer than... It reminds me of that stupid-ass CNN article that was bitching about the 3DS, and the guy reviewing it was like, I'm an experienced hardcore gamer. I started playing games with Halo when I was a child. Please. Experienced hardcore gamer, my ass. You're a goddamn kid. Halo. Jeez, what a joke. That's what I feel like right now, you know? That's what I feel that they're now aiming at. That's the demographic they're aiming at, and it's not me anymore. And I'd be alright with that. I think if there was another game that was blatantly aiming at me that wasn't so unbelievably similar to a game that I am incredibly bored with. We'll see. PlanetSide next. Gimme. That's a game that's appealing to what I want. That I can tell you for a fact. That's a game about making your own fun. I still have fond memories of that game. I still have fond memories of WoW when it comes to making my own fun, but I don't know, it contrasts pretty badly with the fact that the first guild I was in was people who were between maybe the ages of 25 and 39. And when we were doing dungeon content, you know, it was kind of like a pathetic lads' night out, wasn't it? 40 of us here, going down the Molten Core pub, stomping some random guy into the floor, stealing his stuff. That's what it was about. Now it's a smegging Laser Quest party with a bunch of teenagers, and I feel out of place. My name's Stall Biscuit, you're listening to Blue Please right here on CynicalBread.com. We'll play some more Machine Head. So let's call it Old. I think that's really, really appropriate. Enjoy.